you. Oh, thank you.
I hope you have a copy of that picture.
Yeah, she's the one that shared it with me.
It's really nice. I used the one in the back. It was super clean. That's the one I always go to. That's my go-to.
Because I ain't see you.
I was in there. Hard and
Did you get your name and stuff?
yes, I did. They got butter. I didn't want to get up out the chair. How you doing?
Yeah, we meeting.
All right. Hello, I went and I said, my hand needs a little dirty.
NAACP. Yeah,
I was saying, yes.
12.
I said, oh,
The skit was still going on.
usually when I'm home, my daughter, I do it for me. She do my feet, but she do my feet for me. She do all that. My baby, she do that for me. Good with all that stuff. And sister said that she massage on my shoulders. I've been sitting up before. I go, she said, would you just everything my mom? I said, aw.
Huh? Because he put it wrong.
Okay.
Move that to,
Are they moderating? Trevor's a moderator here?
yeah,
Okay. So we don't need this one here.
no.
But you said, aw.
I'm gonna stay over there.
When you're looking at something like that, was that him? People put on the mic we have to show him. This one? Don't, you're not supposed to tap, you're supposed to say
sorry.
hello. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever.
Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah.
Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hi. Oh my goodness gracious. This is this is wonderful. This is wonderful. We are now at the portion of the conference where we're going to talk about the services. How do you seek the services that you received? I mean, we did, and I'm going to do a wrap-up at the end of this, but we've done a whole lot of talking about anxiety and depression and the things that are connected to it. We have done some holistic things. We talked about medical stuff in regards to understanding anxiety and depression on other levels. However, now we are going to have some of our professionals, mental health professionals, come and talk about how do you seek the services that you need, or to seek the services that you desire. So we know that there's a lot of difficulty sometimes in asking for services, but then once you're at the point where you want the services, how do we do that? What are we supposed to look for? We have our esteemed panel here of Yvette Seeley, Dr. Seeley, first, please. And they will introduce themselves. Then we have Pamela Mackey. We have Lisa Miller-Bethea. We have Michelle Austin. And we have our moderator, Cheryl Donald. Ready? Okay.
All right, good afternoon. How is everyone feeling? You've had a great day so far? I heard that you all were moving and artistic and all of these things on a rainy day, so that's pretty awesome. So congratulations on really engaging today, and I hope that what you've heard has blessed you so far and that you can put some of the things that you've learned into action in your individual lives. So what we would like to do today is bring this full circle with some of our professional specialists in our community. And I want to briefly introduce each one of our panelists so that you have an idea of who you're conversing with this evening or this afternoon. So first we have Lisa Miller-Bethea, who is a licensed clinical social worker with a master's degree in social work from Fordham University. She previously worked as the director of a psychiatric program at Queens Hospital, and she currently works as a school social worker with the New York City Department of Education and has her own private practice. And Lisa? We also have Ms. Pamela Mackey, who is a recent graduate of Capella University, receiving a Master's of Science in Marriage and Family Therapy. After an extensive executive retail career with Bloomingdale's as the director of cosmetics and staffing, Pamela has pivoted her life to pursue a passion for becoming a mental health provider. Upon researching the various disciplines in mental health, Pamela found her true love in systemic family mental health as a marriage and family therapist. Pamela has spent the last year as a master's student intern and has transitioned into a full-time therapist with A New Creation Psychotherapy Services in Georgia under the supervision of Dr. Candace Cooper Lovett. Pamela works via telehealth with a diverse client population, presenting problems not limited to grief and loss, trauma, anxiety, depression, PTSD, infidelity, and relational conflict. Pamela is an active member of EBC, Turning Point Counseling Ministry, and serves as the co-facilitator of our Healing Our Hearts support group workshops. She is a member of the American Association for Marriage and Family Therapy, New York chapter, and also Delta Kappa, which is the International Marriage and Family Therapy Honor Society. And she will be joining, I have to pronounce this correctly, Abissimi, Relational Health in pursuit of her New York license in the late summer of 2023. So when I don't know, I defer. So welcome, Pamela. All right, next we have, bear with me. We have Dr. Yvette Seeley, who has a PhD, MPH, and is also a licensed clinical social worker, and has been the associate professor at Fordham University Graduate School of Social Science for 26 years. Her combined social work and public health training affords her the opportunity to engage in direct clinical practice and design community-based interventions focused on achieving optimal physical and mental health with women, children, and families. Dr. Seeley's work is committed to addressing what the U.S. Surgeon General recently declared as a national loneliness epidemic. As such, she utilizes cognitive behavioral therapy and eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, also known as EMDR, to examine the intersectionality of loneliness and life transitions and their compounding impact on decisions people make and that they are called to make daily. So Dr. Seeley, thank you so much. We got a powerhouse panel here. All right, and last but not least, we have Michelle Austin, who is employed with Health First since October of 2022 and is a certified application counselor with the New York State Health Marketplace. New York State of Health Marketplace. She assists prospects who need healthcare coverage through the marketplace. Experience in the healthcare field is 11 years. So welcome, Michelle. We know that we can't talk about mental health without talking about finances, right? So we really appreciate you being here. All right, so what we're going to do today is go through a series of questions for our panelists. I do encourage you to feel free to write any questions that you may have if you're hearing from them, if things spark interest or you have a follow-up for them. And then we will have an opportunity for you to ask direct questions at the end. Sound good? All right, wonderful. So we'll go ahead and get started with our first question. Let me just pull this up. Technology. Okay, so our first question for our panelists is, how will our audience members know when it is time to seek out mental health services? So we've talked about mental health and emotional wellness, but when do we know that it's time to actually seek out services? And I will defer to any of our panelists to begin that conversation. Dr. Seeley?
The most basic answer for me is when you feel something's off. You know you better than I ever will. And so when you feel something's not right, I don't do what I used to do, can't do or what I want to do, something feels off. That's when we really start to look into it. I'll circle back around, but that's where I would start. Something's not right.
I would co-sign on that. And the key is that normal is your normal, right? So you can't, look at someone else's normal and use that as your measuring stick. How are you eating? How are you sleeping? Are you engaged? How's your performance at work, school? And are you feeling isolated?
And it is true. It's not just how you're feeling, too. It's recognizing the symptoms of your body, because there's a book, right? The Body Keeps the Score, I think is what it's called. Your body always tells you when there's something off. We know it. We don't listen, but we know it. And we try to do everything else to not feel that instead of allowing ourselves to just have that emotion so we can figure out what to do with that. So definitely feeling your body, knowing when it's off, I agree. When you feel like it's hard to tell someone something, you're afraid to tell someone something, right? We know that maybe when you should be telling somebody something, but finding that person that you trust to be able to share that with.
I would look at also family history. A lot of us stay away from that aspect, but I think family history has a lot to do with our being today. So I think family history is super, super important. Don't take it as a personal thing. I think it's something you should embrace and seek the help that you or your family member would need.
Excellent. Thank you, Michelle. And I didn't introduce myself. I'm sorry. I am Cheryl Donald. I am also a licensed marriage and family therapist in private practice here in Bushwick in Brooklyn, and a member of EBC and Turning Point Counseling Ministry. And I'm just going to add to that as well. When you hear feedback from others, right? When we're hearing something is different from your friends or your family, you know, sometimes our first initial reaction is, you know, what are you talking about? What's happening? But when we start hearing patterns of feedback, that might be an opportunity to engage and just level set a bit as well. So taking all of these into consideration, and you know, one of the things that we tend to not do is engage in formalized psychotherapy and counseling for a myriad of reasons that we don't need to get into now. But churches such as EBC are really on the forefront of bringing this conversation to our communities. This is what we're doing today, and reducing the stigma that is associated with seeking services and normalizing it, right? So we want to continue to have these conversations out loud. All right, so we've talked about seeking services. The next question is, what about the different types of mental health practitioners, right? So there seems to be like this alphabet soup, an LMFT, an LCSW, an LMH. Who are all these people, and what does it matter? And what do all these letters mean? And does it matter which type of therapist or practitioner that I choose? So we'll start again with the panel. Whoever would like to go first on this question about the alphabet soup.
So me personally, I just think that we all pretty much do the same thing, but there are specialties, right? So I know right here, Pam, right, she specializes in marriage and family therapy. Even though I've done it, I don't specialize in that. But as far as who do you pick, I mean, it's up to you. People always say, should I pick an LCSW or should I pick a psychologist? And it's really for you to really speak to that person to find out, you know, what type of experience they have. I mean, I know that kind of goes into our other question, as far as what you're looking for. But as far as the panelists here, I believe you're a social worker, I'm a social worker, right? Yeah. And so you can speak on your part.
Well, you know what? It's so funny. When I switched careers, I knew that I wanted to get into mental health, even at my age. And it was one of those things that kept gnawing at me and said, you're not fulfilling your purpose in life. So I spent time actually interviewing a psychologist, a psychologist, a sociologist, a psychoanalyst, a mental health counselor, a social worker, and a marriage and family therapist. And one of the first papers I had to write was, why did you choose this field? So just from picking marriage and family therapy, I always find that we don't live in isolation. And what I love about marriage and family therapy is that we call it systemic therapy. So for the most part, I do see individuals, but everything that I deal with in that individual, I look beyond. How is your family dealing with this? How is, you know, we go through generations. So it becomes a bigger scope of the problem, and as we call the identified patient. So I got into marriage and family therapy because family is important, and I feel that family has a lot to do with the issues that we have sometimes. And having gone through it with my own family and not having that ability to speak or have a voice and have my family see my perspective, I felt damaged me even more so. So that's when I said, I'm gonna do marriage and family therapy.
As we have had to educate ourselves on what the letters mean, it's not hard to do. So you too can say, hi, I'm interested in working with you. Can you tell me a little bit about your training? It's not, if you would ask your cardiologist, you would ask your physician, your primary care, what's your specialty? Why not the person who's going to assist you with and support you through your depression or your anxiety? Do you have a specific focus? CBT, EMDR, let me tell you a little bit about it. I feel that I'm negligent if I don't say to a person, this is how I think I could work with you based on my training. So you can educate yourself and you can ask the questions. So for me, more importantly than is it an L, is it an M, FT, or what have you, fit. What's the fit for you and this practitioner? So I believe we're going to get into that more so, but once you find that they're all credentialed, they're all licensed, you want to make sure you got somebody who's trained and knows their stuff, but then there's a lot of overlap in terms of the skill set. So, it's not hard to Google it, and then Google is your friend.
Yes.
And then get that background that you can take to, well, I heard as a L, as a M, as a whatever, this is what you do. Can you tell me a little bit more about that and how that differs? And let them walk you through it also.
Also, having a relationship with your primary care physician, they can also help you navigate through which therapist is the right one for you. I think we are fearful of expressing that I need therapy. Do you have a recommendation? What are the credentialing? What does it mean? As one of my fellow panelists said, Google, the tech savvy way now for the young people, everything is Google. Use that tool as well to understand the different titles that they have so that you know where to go to and who to talk to. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, yes. The last thing that I will add to that is if you go to the New York State Office of the Professions website, you can actually put in all of our names and you can see if we're licensed. So I think that's very important also as part of the research is to make sure that the person that you're working with is appropriately credentialed. There's a lot going on the internets these days. People are calling themselves a lot of different things. And so, there's slight variations in language that people use. So if you're not sure, please access the resources that New York State has for you. It's online. You put our names in. It will tell you if our licenses are current and what the discipline is that we're licensed in. So that's always an important resource for you. So that segues us into the next question, which is, now that I've figured out what the alphabet soup is, how do I know who is the best therapist for me? Right? So that is not one size fits all. So panelists, let's tackle that one first. Lisa, I think they're all looking at you.
I don't know, Lisa. You. Go ahead.
Well, I think it's something that we already started with the last question is really, definitely calling around. I always look up people's licenses, even as I was doing trainings and I knew I needed to work under someone, and I found people that had some checkered histories. I'm just saying, but I digress. But yeah, so doing research, talking with them. Usually people get like a 15-minute consultation. You get to talk to them about what your concerns are, what you're looking for, and asking them their experience. Sometimes through a phone conversation, it could be enough to feel the comfort level, but it's really, a lot of times you do have to try a therapist, get in the door to try to get that experience. And I tell people all the time, I'm not for everybody. And it's okay, right? If you come in and you like it and it works, I always ask after the first session, you okay? You want to come back? Just because, everybody has their own way of doing things. When people come through the door, you don't know what their expectations are, but I always try to make sure people feel comfortable. They want to feel safe. They want to feel that they can not have to hide and they can speak to your therapist. There are people that lie to the therapist, right? And I'm like, okay, so this is what we're doing, right? And we're having to, unpack that. But you want to make sure that you feel safe, that you can say anything. You want to feel comfortable. That's the most thing. It's not like you say you have to be buddies, but there is a comfort level where you can feel the energy. You can feel that it's flowing. Some people, They don't want someone saying, well, how did that make you feel? And just going through the textbook questions. Someone wants to really know that their feelings are validated. They want to feel heard. And they want to know they have a space that they can say anything and that they can express anything. And there have been experiences where I've had clients that have said, this person just didn't do anything. I had to keep repeating myself because maybe they weren't listening. And they just didn't feel like the person really heard what they were saying. And so you want to think of all of that because this is the person that you're sharing your pain with, your deepest concerns, putting all your stuff there in that space. And you need to make sure that it's a safe space and that you do feel connected with the person that you're going to be talking to.
I think it's a matter of connection as well, just to piggyback off of what you're saying, a matter of connection. You will tell right when you walk in the doctor's office if you're going to connect with that doctor or not. And it's okay if, like she said, you don't have to further the conversation. And you have a right as a patient to choose if you want to change your doctors. So always bear that in mind. We're not connecting, okay, I'll move on to the next one. And just make sure you find the right person who will listen, not just hear you, but listen and articulate everything you say, and hopefully will navigate you on that path to healing.
I'm going to take a slightly different angle from my sisters up here. Because I only want to work with a Black woman in her 50s, maybe 52 to 56, who's Christian and Baptist and goes to Bible study and has 3 children and who's gone through menopause and married 25 years. And if they don't meet those boxes, there you can't understand me and my problems. So I'm going to interview you and make sure you check those boxes and prove yourself worthy of me sitting here and sharing my experience with you.
I love the way you said
So,
I love the way you talk. I just love the way she talks. She just breaks it down.
because can you understand me is what we want to know. Do you relate to me? That I have a son. I can't talk to anybody about me being worried about my child going out after school in the park. I can't say that to a white person. You don't know the fear I feel and how I have to explain to my son, my Black boy, that yes, sir, no, sir, may I call my mother, sir? Can you relate to that? And I have to say that if it is a non-person of color, I believe that they can help you. Do they have a first-hand experience of what it's like to be a fill in the blank? Perhaps not. Are they willing to learn and hear what your lived experience is? They certainly should if they're qualified and credentialed and worthy of your time. So I say that to say that it's okay to have your preference. It's okay to have, we should. You've got that right to do. I want us to be discerning of counting anyone out if they are not a mirror image. Let them show you. Let them be, we are, as trained professionals, are trained to be curious about. I cannot know what it's like to be a whoever, whatever. That's just impossible. But I can say, tell me what that's like for you. I bring my professional expertise, you bring your lived experience, and we get in there and we work it out. So I'm just saying and taking that approach because there's a shortage of mental health providers, people.
Yes, we do.
You make call after call after call. You might be on a waiting list after waiting list after waiting list. So I don't want to see you miss an opportunity. But I certainly want you to recognize that fit is important and to give it a chance. And so, yeah, well, they didn't help me. They just sat there and, okay. What is it that you're bringing? Did you tell them what you needed to tell them? Because it works both ways. They could have been a not so good, mediocre, whatever. What did you bring to it? And sometimes we're looking for a reason not to. We're looking for a reason to jump ship. Next, not, told you it wasn't gonna work. So we have to be mindful of, just like a relationship, it is a relationship that you are entering into, and you gotta be willing to sit through it and work with it. And so it's a beautiful one once you allow yourself to do it. So just think of what's your must-haves,
Right.
what's your non-negotiables, and then give it a chance.
Yeah, thank you. So to piggyback off of Yvette here, I will take it like in a different era, because one of the things that you do have to do that research. And I think that some of the tools that we're going to give you are references to things like Psychology Today, Better Health, Zen Care. And in those websites, through those websites, you can actually see the person. Sometimes there's a video, sometimes there's a bio. So as I sit with these women with high credentials, I spent a year as an intern, not a doctor, not a licensed. I'm pre-licensed. I'm not even fully licensed yet. But I have a video, well, I don't have any video anymore, but I have a Psychology Today bio, and you can see all about me. You can see if I fit you, because it's very important that that therapist brings their authentic self. It's a relationship, guys. It's your time and your money. I remember my first experience going in to see a therapist without Psychology Today and seeing a Confederate flag, a painting of a Confederate flag. I couldn't turn around quicker out of that office. Be cognizant. And now when we're on telehealth, we'll talk about that a little bit more. Look at the surroundings of that person. Is that someone I can talk to and relate to? Interview them as they're interviewing you. Look for a fit. It's key to your success in therapy.
Those are amazing answers. Thank you, Dr. Seeley. We do hear that. I have this criteria that I need, and if that person doesn't meet the criteria, then they're not the right person for me. And that's really an important point, because there is a shortage. And then when we think about mental health providers, and then we think about Black mental health providers, yeah, it's tough. I try to refer to these ladies, they're all busy just like me. And part of it is because we're great therapists, but also part of it is that people want therapists that look like them. And historically, that has not been an option for us. And so trying to balance those two things is difficult, but absolutely should not be a reason to not engage if you think you need to engage in services. And just because I look like you doesn't mean that I can help you either, right? Depending on what my experiences are, if you choose me because I'm a Black female over, a Latina female or even a Latino male, right? Who knows if I'm the person to help you with what you're presenting. So that's why the interview process is so important. So thank you so much for that. And continue to write down your questions, because we will have a Q&A opportunity as well. So now we want to talk about barriers, right? What are some barriers to being able to access these services? And we'll talk about them from our perspective as professionals, and then we'll also like to hear from you all during the Q&A on what have been some barriers for you, and maybe we can have a conversation about that. So we'll start with Michelle from Health First.
Good evening, everybody. So I work for Health First. Again, I've been in the health field for 11 years. I do have my bachelor's degree in healthcare service management. Health First is one of the top insurance companies in New York, 1.7 million members. We service 120 providers and doctors from every specialty you could think of. We have the Medicaid program, an Essential Plan program, and QHP, also known as the Qualified Health Program. So how it works, the Medicaid program is for members who make 0 to 21 annually. Now, the gap between 22 to 29, thanks to my president, Barack Obama, he signed off on that for the Affordable Care Act back, I think, in 2010. So the Essential Plan birthed from that program. That program is for the mid-income qualifiers who do not qualify for Medicaid. Now, the Essential Plan works for immigrants, qualified immigrants, and households with income brackets between 22 to 28, 29. I think the state is about to up it more, so people who are making $31,000 a year could qualify for Essential Plan, as opposed to QHP where they have to pay out of pocket, right? We do offer HAP, which is Health and Recovery Plan Program for mental health and substance users. I don't do the enrollment. However, you reach out to Health First. They can assist you in enrolling if you need to be in that program. The HAP program also have physical health care, substance users. They also provide health. They also provide enhanced management for members who need coordination for their health care for mental health, which means doctors' prescriptions, programs for them to enable to live in the society. You know, sometimes some people think mental health is a taboo, and they hide it. Especially in my culture, I'm from the Caribbean, so oh, they're crazy, oh, nothing wrong with them, they'll be all right. No, it's something is rooted wrong, and thank God I migrated here and I learned how to navigate around that instead of just sweeping it under the rug and just leave them be. If you want more information about the HAP program, you could go online, and I don't have my computer with me, it's in the bag, but you can go online and Google it, the HARP program, and they will give you a more detail on how it works with Medicaid and Medicaid managed care plans. Okay, the Essential Plan and Medicaid also do cover mental health, but the HAP program is more in depth. So for those who want to research it, you could go online or call Health First. They have, you could Google Health First if you want to, and you could find the information there about how to enroll within the HAP program.
Thank you so much. And that's important, because when we talk about access, right, how do we pay for this? And so it's important to know the intricacies of insurance and the different types of plans and how we qualify for those things. And then maybe in our other panelists' remarks, they can talk a little bit about private insurance, if they take them, if they're out of network, maybe integrate that into some of your comments in terms of barriers.
Well, I'll go, because I have a different look at barriers. We all know that, and I don't want to steal anybody's thing, but it's time, financial ability. But it's engagement and desire, And so can you hear me? So it's engagement and desire. I work for a private practice, and as an intern and as a pre-licensed therapist, I do not take insurance. Okay, but it is with the practice that I work with. We work to make it affordable. I'll tell you, it's like going to a doctor and you have a resident that's working on the side of you. As an intern, I worked with the supervisor. Hate to say it, but I was cheaper. My doctor was the doctor that supervised me was $150 for a 50-minute session. I was half that. And she supervised me, so she looked at everything that I did. So you get the best of both worlds. So, if you've ever gone to a college dental and had work done instead of paying for a dentist, no, not to steal anyone's thunder here, because at one point I'll be, licensed and I won't want an intern to take my my clients, but it is a way. And a lot of private practices will work with you if they don't take insurance. It doesn't have to be a barrier to not come to therapy from a private practice standpoint. There's things like sliding scale. There's other methods like Open Path. And there are things like, I think there's a men's group, there's a Black men's therapy group that has gotten over the past year actually all the sponsorship, that there's a wait list to get therapy pro bono. And private practices are doing this, especially in our community, because they know how important it is. So I take a pro bono student from a college every year. Having been a college student, I usually take a semester one student that I give her or him 4 sessions, because I work with college students in anxiety. So we work like that. I'm sure everyone up here has a way that they try to make mental health care affordable, that finance is not the first barrier.
I agree. Finance should never be a barrier. If finance was a barrier, we wouldn't have gone to college. If finances were a barrier, we wouldn't have gone to graduate school. If finances were a barrier, we wouldn't. We come from a people who have made it happen and found a way, and so this should be no different. Not saying it's not easy, but if we're intentional about it, we find a way and we push ahead and we utilize and lean on our supports to make it happen. We also have to do our part. Find out what your insurance, if we do, because someone here said to me, well, doesn't everyone have insurance? And I had to say, no, not everyone has insurance. So be aware of what your insurance is and covers. You can go to see your primary care doctor, but can you go see one of us and have it covered? Does it have a behavioral health component? Step 1, and it's usually the numbers on the back of the card. Make a call and just ask, what's in my plan? You can go in-network versus out-of-network. If it's in-network, then typically the insurance company covers it and you are good to go. Yvette will bill us directly, and just make sure you keep your appointments and things are on the up and up. But if Yvette's not in their network, then there are ways to do it where you might pay the fee, and then your insurance company reimburses you a portion of that. Many of them, sometimes 80-20. Insurance pays 80, which is the majority. You all know the math. 20%, you got to come out of pocket. But if we work it in round numbers, $100, 80 out of 100, you coming away pretty good. You might be paying $20. Can you do that? An option, and so your situations are your situations, and I'm certainly respectful of them. But sometimes when we hear, oh, you don't take my insurance, okay, bye, I don't have to do it. And sometimes, a lot of times, people don't work with me to go through that process. And that's sometimes also a measuring for, they're not ready. Because if you can't and won't invest in yourself to make 1 or 2 phone calls, then that also says that your depression or your anxiety has got you. Push ahead, make that phone call. I really want to see this person via the consultation. It felt like it was a fit. Let's see how we can make it happen. Yvette, do you have a sliding scale? That's the question. She can only say no. My insurance says they'll cover 80. I'm willing to do that other 20. Can we begin? There are ways to make it work. So as the provider, I want people to be able to use their insurance. I spent years and years and years being a self-pay practitioner. I'm more open to, how do we make this work for you? That's age, that's my God self, but I want you to be able to use your insurance. How do we make it work? And a lot of times people don't call me back. Okay. They're not ready. Are you ready? Is your mom, is your dad, is your child? What do we need to do as your client? You all are You know, in your workplace, how is that person ready? Because there are options. So the barriers sometimes are the anxiety about the inquiry process. Let's get through that because there are options.
Thank you, Dr. Staley. Now that just transitioned us beautifully, thank you, into our final question, which is how would someone from the audience here recognize when they are moving from victim to victor? How do we recognize? And notice I said moving from victim to victor. How do we recognize that?
I say one way for you to recognize that is the fact that you just took the first step to try to do something about it. That you decided to just open up and say, hey, I need help. In whichever form, you know, whoever you may go to. You know, they always say acknowledging is the beginning. Then we can go somewhere. You know, but holding stuff in and not allowing yourself to be free to express things and beating yourself up because things are going on, you can't ever move through the process of the pain or whatever you're going through because you keep stopping it, because you keep fighting it. But once you say, I surrender, I need to do something and move forward and find someone to talk to, I think that's one of the ways to move from victim to victor. Yes.
Other thoughts?
The question is, how would you recognize, right?
Yeah. How do we recognize that we're making that shift, that we're moving in that
Right.
direction?
So it's as simple as, you know, coming out of the pandemic, I didn't really think that I could ever suffer from anxiety. I'm cool, I don't suffer from it. And oh my God, after the pandemic, I walk out the door and I ran back in the house and I wanted to stay forever. I was like, oh my God, I've got anxiety. And it took me, guys, a couple of months. Church opened up. I wasn't coming out to church. I love streaming. It was good.
What's up, y'all?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wait, I can get my mom streaming with me in South Carolina, and we're making it a streaming party, and we're at church. The first step that I made coming to church, Easter, after the pandemic, I said, I'm going. Just go. Take that step. And that's your victory. It's taking that first step. Whatever it is, claim victory. I'm bigger than this. I'm better than this. It's not going to own me.
In our work, we often look at the presenting problem. What brings you in today? What's the problem? But we're not doing the work of service if we're not also looking at the strengths. What's going well? We can always look at what didn't work out. What's going well? I've not done my work if I don't also ask you to look at the glass being half full. What's going well? So that's a strength. You being here, as they have said, you being here today, you being in that person's office, that's a major accomplishment. So let's look at the strengths. As my workshop, let's look at the cognitions. You're not seeing it always from a deficit perspective anymore. You're seeing your strengths. You're seeing your value. I believe that that's also an important part. That, well, I actually wanted to wash my face today. That might be so simple, people, but it's not a given for a lot of people. I didn't say take a shower, but you washed your face. Amen. Noticing the slight manageable adjustments. I want to answer my phone. I want to see my friend. I want to do my dance and my meditations. Just the subtle things. Don't pressure yourself. You got to go from 0 to 60. Take those initial steps. That's how and own it. And set your perimeters. Boundaries are a good thing.
Yes.
establishing some and asking and requiring people to respect them. Also a way you see, I'm making some changes. I did not accept that. I also didn't dish it out, let's own it. I also didn't dish it out, but I didn't accept it. So there are many ways that you should be looking for the subtle changes and celebrating the little steps.
I love that, celebrating the steps. That's so important. Thank you, panelists. Excellence. Well done, well done, well done. Okay, so any questions that anyone has for our panelists? Any questions? Yes.
It's a very simple question. My question is, do therapists have a therapist?
Here you go. Oh, just for our
Now you get personal.
I'm sorry.
My question.
My question,
I have to look that way?
oh, you didn't hear me, I'm sorry. My question is, does therapists have a therapist? Because I'm only asking because listening to what you all saying and people coming in with all sorts of whatever, how, and being a Christian also and doing intercessory prayer. When I'm finished, I'm so exhausted because I'm listening and receiving and praying. So you're pouring out also. That's the only reason why I ask. Thank you.
Great question.
Yeah. I'm going to answer that question first. And this is my opinion that nobody pays me for. If your therapist doesn't have a therapist, you should get another therapist. Yes, I said it. Especially during the pandemic. During the pandemic, we were slammed. I was never more busy, I think, ever in my 10 years in private practice. And it's still busy. And this is a good thing, right? Because more people are accessing mental health services. But it is a lot that we are hearing, right? And while we are professionals and we are not internalizing, we are hearing a lot of trauma. And there's a certain level of transference, I believe, that happens there. And so, it depends on how often we see our therapists. We may not see them maybe as often as you are engaged with your therapist, but I do think it's important to have that relationship. And I think it's a fair question to ask a therapist, just like, where did you get your degree from? I think that's a fair question to ask. And different folks have different philosophies around it and different feelings toward it. So that's my personal opinion, but I think it's a great question and a great observation. Not because you're caring for your therapist per se, but that you're mindful, when we talk about systems as MFTs, that everybody impacts each other. And we are humans just like you all are.
I will say that over the years, I've always had therapist friends, but it's interesting because over the last couple of months, life happens to us. You're right. We take on a lot of, we do take in. And then we also have our own lives outside. And those lives can be stressful and overwhelming. And just recently, I remember sitting, watching TV, watching a sad movie, because sometimes that's the easiest way to get it out, right? And I actually said to myself out loud, and I think I told Sheila this. Sheila's somewhere in here? And I said, Sheila, I realize I'm not okay. And one thing I try to tell people is that it's okay to not be okay. And I'm constantly telling people that. But we as caretakers, as therapists, sometimes we still try to keep doing it. And it's not even just that. I always say, sisters, we just do it all. We do it all. Like, we can have our heart coming out of here, blood, we tape it up, and we say, we got things to do. Because if we don't do it, it's not gonna get done. But you know what? It's okay if it don't get done. Like, I'm tired of doing that. I am tired, And so, like, recently, so it's funny that you said, don't get rid of me because I didn't have a therapist, but I actually have been talking about, like, I gotta find a therapist. My doctor came to see my mother and she's like, you need to get a therapist. I'm like, you're right. Yeah. And it's that time because life is happening, okay? and I need to be proactive before it take me out. Okay, so I agree that people do have a place, you do need to find a place to process. It doesn't have to be all the time. You do have to have some time for yourself. It's important, and we just have to stop acting like things like we don't need to talk to someone, because when you do actually break down to somebody, they're looking at you like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, girl, I got problems too, you know? But you'll find that when you start talking to other people, other friends of yours, you actually open up, you're like, dang, we all going through the same thing. Like, whew, this feel good. Let's just cry about it right now. Let's go get a plate of food and let's talk about it and we're gonna be okay. So yes, I do agree that therapists should have that support to be able to help be the best therapist they can be for the people they provide services to. So thank you for asking that.
We have a couple of other questions. I'm going to go right here, gentlemen.
You certainly mentioned finding the correct fit. You all do different things. I walk into your office and basically you're figuring out me in terms of you're not a fit for me. Do you then in some way refer to one of your better colleagues sitting right at the same DS right here? Or do you just say goodbye?
Ethically, we can't just say goodbye. We have to, I know for me, you know, in starting out, I've gotten clients that I said, you know, because we have, and I don't know why I'm tongue-tied, ethical standards, right? That we have to be competent in the care that we give, and it has to be within our competency, right? So if a client comes to me with something that I don't feel confident with, it's not that we're not a good fit in that regard. It's not that we're not a good fit because of personality or relational. We're not a good fit because the issue that you brought to me is out of my scope, and I know that there's someone else that's better. I do a lot of referrals. You know, when I first started, I had someone come with substance abuse that I felt that was beyond my scope. I found a substance abuse, you know, counselor. You know, I have a client now that suffers from severe depression, PTSD. I have referred them to someone that does brain spotting and EMDR. So it's a community in which we want to service you in the best way possible. It's a part of our ethical standard that we give you the best care, and if we can't, we refer you.
And I just want to add on, yeah, it should be more about competence than personality. Because some of those clients I've worked with who was like, whoo, Lord help me, turned out to be some of the most positive exchanges because of, so you use that. Oh, there is something about this person that's triggering me. I put that back into the work, because if it's triggering me, it's triggering their boss, it's triggering their partner, it's out there in the world. So I use that, but I first got to recognize it in order to be able to use it. But otherwise, if it's, you know, I'll call you next week, because there was a couple, didn't feel like their particular need was at the ready in my fingertips. I know somebody else can pick them up right away. So that's why I would refer, never leave and abandon, but refer and to help support that fit.
Thank you. Great question. Question? Did you still have your question?
I was going to ask if there's some websites that you suggest for looking for therapists.
Yes. We're going to provide websites for you all to do your searches. We mentioned some of them here: Psychology Today, BetterHelp, Therapy for Black Girls, Therapy for Black Men. So there are multiple websites that we can provide that information for you all. Question?
This goes to Michelle? Okay. Reason why I'm directing to you is because I do work in the health field also. I've worked over 20 years. And I come with a lot of clients that come into us. We try to keep them updated on all of the different insurances and different programs and stuff. So you kind of pique my curiosity on some of those things and kind of woke me up to some stuff. Now, you got people who want to do this mental health, but again, hung up on finance and supports and stuff like that. Do you have that information available to them as far as like if there's maybe a tax deduction for them paying out of pocket, different things of that nature? Folks want to ask these things if they got to pay out of pocket, maybe they could get some of that back, like they write off certain things or whatever. Do you have those, that information available to them? And what is Open Path? Because I see, you got the sliding scale. What is Open Path?
Okay, so as far, the question you're asking me is regarding to enrollment, if they're going to qualify for the different insurances. So Medicaid and Essential Plan do cover those programs. They don't have to come out of pocket really for anything unless it's a copay, and the copay usually is not a lot of money. The max you might pay for the Essential Plan is $30 for your specialist.
Okay, I know that.
Right.
What it's saying is that for people who are paid, like, where they don't, where you're not taking insurances and stuff of that nature, do you guys know, do they have, where they can deduct on their taxes with that? Like, you know, like you do with medical bills and different things that you absorb?
Oh, it's like,
Is that part of, you know, because mental health is,
it's
something that's serious and people need it, so they should be able to deduct these on taxes and stuff. So I'm trying to find out if we can do these things so I can note it and pass it on.
Is there a tax person here?
So one of the things, depending on your employer, if you have healthcare savings accounts or flexible spending accounts, you can submit those. What we do is we provide what's called a super bill. And that will provide, the diagnosis, the treatment plan, all of that information that goes to you. And it also will have how much you've paid out of pocket. And then you can submit that super bill to your FSA or your healthcare savings plan. And those are pre-tax dollars. So you put that in, it comes out of your paycheck if your job offers that, and reimburse. Now, in terms of what you can write off, talk to your CPA. Because we don't want to give tax advice, but I do know that that's an option for you. And so when we're doing things like out of network and you're doing the 80-20 that Dr. Seeley mentioned, that 20% that you're paying can go to your FSA and you can get reimbursed from that way as well.
I want to ask a question first. If we want to connect with one of the ladies on the panel, how will we do that? Like, how can we get your contact information? And I heard Dr. Seeley saying that now she's more of the mindset of how can we make it work? So do you make it work with Medicare?
Well, and I am currently being credentialed with Medicare.
Oh, nice.
And currently, because this is my family. My family needs to be able to stay at home and get the help. And so I know a lot of older adults are utilizing it, or older adults or clients with, other certain disabilities, and I need them to be able to get the support. So I said, no, I got to add Medicare to my panel of providers. So I'm working on that
And just to add, for Medicare, marriage and family therapists will be able to join Medicare in 2024. So we're looking forward to that.
I just wondered that, as Dr. Seeley, if she could speak on this, the role of therapists, and that is to help people to help themselves. The therapist can't fix anybody. Based on education, what we see, we can come up with some ideas and find out whether it's true or not. So can you just speak on that just a little bit more about that?
Trying to grab on to what we see and whether that's truth or not. Are you talking about, our perceptions of situations? because I think, you know, we're living, breathing entities, and, you know, projection. Anyone familiar with projection?
Yes.
May I use you for a moment? You just had like a scowling look on your face. I believe it's because you were processing and taking in what I was thinking and what I was saying. But I could immediately say, and I won't say it out loud, but in my head saying, she doesn't like me. She doesn't agree with me. She thinks I'm not doing my good job. She thinks that and then I spiral into this web of my thinking and thoughts about you. But what it really might have been is that you tapped into my own feelings about myself. I don't think I'm good enough. I don't think I should be up here. I. And I'm going to put that all on you and say, who let her in here? I know her, so I can say that because I know her and she's strong enough to withstand. Why is she talking about me? What is the reality of the situation? And how do we, because we see it through our lenses and our filters. People, our filters sometimes are flawed. And how do we check it? Any filter on your AC, you gotta wash it out and clean it out. Your wash machine, you gotta clean it out. You gotta get that lint out of there because the dryer won't work as well as efficiently if we don't keep monitoring this stuff from time to time. So if that's what you were referring to, what's the reality of the situation? Something's not right. Taking us all the way back to the beginning. Something's not right. Let me look into it. Doesn't mean, I don't know if any of us said, but doesn't mean we have to do this every week for the rest of our lives. You need a tune-up, you take it in, you meet with somebody for a while, you've set clear goals. This is what we are working on. You address it, you make some changes, you leave. Any of us will be here, call us back. We celebrate that you're going out into the world. We want you out there. When you come back, either I'll be here or she or he or they, and then you do the next phase of the journey. So we want to be with you for a phase of the journey, and then we want to celebrate you on your way. But let's look at the realities. Are we seeing the situation as it is? And that's a good place that we can start.
I love that. I love that. Talking about the role of the therapist, right? So this is your process. You all own this. This is not what we want for you. This is what you want for yourselves. Right? So always remember that you own the process. We are here to help you get to where you need to be. And so if you ever hear your therapist telling you what you should be, you should be concerned.
I just wanted to address this, Dr. Seeley. I'm a Christian. God, it will guide me and teach me and show me what I need. I don't need a therapist. I don't need a person, because if I do, that means I don't believe in God. I don't have any faith. I'm not a Christian anymore. I read the Bible. I go by the Bible, and I trust God. I trust the Bible. In alignment with what you said, during the pandemic, I was a Christian. But I was so isolated and so depressed. I said, oh, God. God said, you better see a therapist.
That's right. And I'll tell you, I'm on Zoom Wednesday nights at 7 with that man over there in Bible study, because that's what helps me help you, help them. So, yeah, I don't pretend. Absolutely.
Thank you. On that note, this is the last question, but we will be around if you have one-on-one questions. The pastor is here. But thank you so much for ending on that, because, that's at the root of a lot of this, right? So thank you so much for that. And again, thank you to our panelists. Outstanding. Thank you so much. And thank you all for coming here and giving us the opportunity to share some of our expertise. And I'll hand it back to Sheila. I'm calling you me, Sam.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Oh, my goodness. Could we give another hand for our panelists and our moderator? It seems like it was very fruitful, some dropping those jewels, those analogies, that washing the clothes, and we got to rinse that out because I was like, oh, that's the problems I've been having. Okay, fine. Okay, so did we have a good time? Yes. Did we have, oh my goodness, we had such a good time. At least I did, and I really hope that you all did too. I like to say y'all, but I'm from Brooklyn, so like where you get y'all from. But anyway, you all, as they say. So we're gonna I just wanted to kind of wrap up what we did today as a reminder. So we started off with it was supposed to be a greeting. Oh, he left, but it was supposed to be a greeting from our lovely, beloved Reverend Trufant, who really laid the foundation for the conference, which I'm just so thankful, and that just really shows how God just really kind of takes over. I always say we'll do the ordinary and God will do the extraordinary. So his transparency, him sharing his story and understanding and allowing us to realize and know that we're in a safe space, we really appreciate him for that. We had a wonderful statement of the day. My Asila, who really kind of hyped us up and got us ready for not knowing that we was going to be working, because we walked, some of us walked, and some of us did breathing exercises. I want to thank Ken for his doing that video, and for Lisa and for Pam to execute that for us in such a wonderful way, where is something that we can take away from us. And then we had Dominique and Karen who walked out in the mist, and it was so cute to see y'all outside walking down the street, and just how blessed. I was like, oh my God, it's like 12 of them, yay. So that was wonderful. And then prior to that, we did go through the overviews of anxiety and depression, kind of give a little understanding. Lindsay allowed us to understand when our doctors are asking us certain questions, to why they are asking the questions, and and hopefully when you get there and your doctor is asking you certain questions that may not have anything to do with your knee hurting, but it may have something to do with them understanding your mental health, that we would answer those questions as honestly as possible and start that dialogue with the doctor. Sometimes we have to tell them stop because they got 5 minutes per patient. Like, no, you're going to take 7 with me. Take your 7 minutes with them if that's what you need to do. So that's part of it, and understanding that portion of it. And then we did our breakout session with the outside and the inside meditation. And then we had Dominique who did the lunch. Did everybody enjoy your lunch? That lunch was really good. It was really good. So we had our understanding ways to healthy eating for anxiety and depression, and things that we need to do. And fermented fruit, fermented vegetables are really good for our guts, right, Dominique? Yes. Okay. They were hard words, you're right. Okay, and then we had the medication management. We want to thank Sydney Bauer-Taylor and Vanessa Moore for doing the presentation on the medication management. And also the current disorders for anxiety, depression, the ABCs of anxiety, depression for Dr. Seeley, or Yvette, she likes to call her Yvette, yes, Yvette. And then we had, that section was called Anxious for Nothing, we called it Art Therapy, but the creative expression. And when I went upstairs, I thought they were gonna be doing some praise dance. No, Sheila had y'all in there working it out, and y'all were in sync. You should just hear it from the steps. It was like y'all was in sync, and then she said, put the chair back, and now so we done worked y'all out today. We done worked you out. We did a little art, adult coloring, and some people were able to get the hand massages. And then this wonderful panel that we just had. So that was like kind of summary of what we did today. Now, we want to make sure that y'all retain some of this information. So I said before, I like to give quizzes. So I've had 2 of the panelists, 2 of the workshops said they left me questions that I could ask for a little giveaway. So this is from Dr. Seeley's presentation of co-occurrent disorders of anxiety and depression, and she said, now, we're gonna go by, raise your hand, who can raise their hand first? Y'all can be my eyes to see who can raise their hand first. But the first question is, name 3 of the 4 steps to examine cognitions. Oh.
I'm joking,
Okay, I'm sorry, Barbara? Yes, Deacon Barbara? Prayer word, Barbara?
I'm just Barbara today.
That's Barbara.
I even wrote them down because I felt that they were very important.
I said they had papers, so they'll be yes.
Event, thought, feelings, consequences, behavior.
All right. That's a sign of a good teacher. Wow, yes. Okay. We give a little love here, yes. It's a little bit of love.
I just thought that was just to answer the question.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so here we go. The other one from the breathing this morning. What is the most important thing to keep in mind when intentionally breathing? What is the Lisa's upset. What is the most important thing to keep in mind when intentionally breathing? Yes, my dear. Don't hold your breath? Huh? All the way back. Oh, yes, my dear. Yes, back. Being present? Oh, no. Okay. Yes, my dear.
No, that's important.
What you say? Mindfulness. Those are those good things y'all talked about.
All of these are important, super important. But Ken said something several times that Ken wrote it, Lisa reported.
I'm not reading it.
What is the most important thing to keep in mind when you're doing intentional breathing?
Amanda? What did Amanda, right? Who's Amanda? What'd you say? She said to center yourself. Center yourself?
Mm-mm.
Come on. All right.
Who's
That was close.
Mm-mm.
Focus on your breathing.
That's important, though.
Those
But he
all
said
these
this
things are
very
important, so
specific.
take them down. What? Breathing.
Y'all all saying breathing like I'm gonna change my answer.
Being intentional.
Intentional breathing. Let's just think about how we stood up.
David.
Raise your hand.
David.
Can't just be yelling out answers. Oh, did we call on her yet? Because we still.
Wait a minute.
Oh. Well, I know.
What did you say?
Okay, go ahead. Posture. Absolutely.
Posture, yes. Wow. Whew. That
was hard. But all of those answers were great, but we went specifically with what he said.
Okay, so we have another question from the medication management. And Vanessa, what was the question? What are the 2? Name 2. Name 2 medications used for anxiety. Raise your hands. Oh, yes, my dear. No, medications. The name of the medication. Huh? Yes, ma'am. Klonopin and Xanax? Is that right? Woo! Okay, good. Yes. Okay. And for the Klonopin and Xanax. Thank you. Very good. Well, I'm glad. Well, let me just. Yeah, y'all were paying. I am so thankful that y'all was paying attention. One more. We can ask one more question. Anybody from the dance upstairs? From the dying. Excellent. Yes. What is your question, Dominique, from the dying? Name 2 foods that will reduce anxiety. You got the 2? You know the 2? Yes. Yes, back there. Fruits and vegetables? That'll work? Okay, all right. Good. Fruits and vegetables it is. Okay. Well,
Sheila,
which this, yes, ma'am.
did we hand out the resources?
I'm gonna tell them right now. Okay. The young lady in the back in the brown. Okay, so then, oh, that is so wonderful. So, we wanted to make sure that make sure that people had a takeaway, it's nice to be part of these things, but if you don't take anything away from it, you can't go and share it, and most importantly, you can't use them when you're in need. So we wanted to make sure that we do that. So even with the intentional breathing, all of the things that were said was things that we do need to remind. Being intentional, make sure that you breathe, be in the moment. All of those things are very important. So we just want to make sure that you do that. We have passed out a survey, so please check the survey. So in that, I want to now, in the wrap, okay, so now I'm truly gonna wrap it up. We are almost out of here. On behalf of Turning Point Counseling Ministry, we sincerely thank you for your participation, for showing up, for working out. I mean, I didn't know we was gonna work out this hard. I mean, we all got good number of steps on our pedometers today. So we appreciate you from doing that. But we hope that you understand that those things are so important when we're dealing with the day-to-day. Because, every day, today you're feeling good, and tomorrow you might be feeling good. So we hopefully that you would take the walks and use the intentional breathing and things like that. We want to thank our presenters. Our presenters are Lindsay Johnston, Dominique, Asila. We want to thank Ken in his absence. We want to thank Cheryl and Michelle, Lisa and Pam and Yvette. We want to thank you so very much. We want to thank the person who did the hand massage. I didn't catch her name, but her name is Michelle Lawson. Oh, great spot. Okay, so we want to thank her as well. We want to thank everybody for participating. We want to thank the people in the background who were, Sydney Taylor, who had to leave, but she partnered with Vanessa in regards to the medication management. So we want to thank all of them for coming out. We want to thank especially Jocelyn and Bryant, Charlotte and Renee. They probably sick of us. Jocelyn, we gotta hug up because she's been all day long, and you have barely seen her. So we thank her so much and her team so much. We want to thank our honorary member, Deacon Beverly, for her Turning Point shirt, who was tasked with taking care of us when Deacon Corbett transitioned, and she has taken very good care of us and keeping us in prayer. We definitely want to thank Reverend Trufant and Dr. Newton. And, okay, thank you. All right, Terry Kennedy, we want to thank our volunteers, absolutely, who came out since 8 o'clock this morning and were working diligently with us. I had that on the bottom there. Who else? Charlotte, Terry. Okay. I'm gonna take Turning Point too. Okay. And then we want to thank, we want to thank the volunteers and everything. I personally want to thank Turning Point Counseling Ministry for supporting me, for really running with it. Normally we would have started this a little bit earlier in the year. And so coming together, Zoom meetings, and really trying to figure out what we were going to do. So I want to thank each and every one of them. Akosala, Lindsay, who was new, she walked, like I told you before, she walked on the scene. It was like, okay, you're part of the ministry now, and has stepped up. Dominique, Angela, thank you for your prayers, because we know that you've been praying for us. And Pam, who is finishing up school, and still she is part of our Healing Our Hearts. She does that, and thank you so very much for that. And Lisa, thank you so much for all of your participation. I appreciate you. Cheryl, who has her thriving business, can't meet on Wednesdays, but definitely said she would be here, and she did. And she ran the Brooklyn half today. Yes, ma'am. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. So we thank you. Thank you, Dr. Seeley, because who's going to be part of our ministry soon. And I want to thank Flora, who came from, she came from North Carolina to be a part, to be with us. So that says a lot. And I want to thank, she goes, stop crying. I want to thank Magdalena, because as you know, Magdalena me and her were the servant leaders last year, and she, decided to step down. But when I asked her, could you please help with the conference, she was like, okay, let's do this, let's do it. And she is, I'm so thankful for her. And I was saying to people that, one thing I know the people who love me, not because they tell me they love me, they show me. Exactly. Then they show up for me. For me. So I just want to thank you so much for backing me up. And, okay.
Even though this is a mental health conference, I don't like to cry. I just want to add to what Sheila is saying, because, it's hard to give up the servant leader role when you've done it for so long. And we just want to thank you, and we are so grateful that you guys took the time on a Saturday to spend with us all day on a rainy Saturday where you could be under your covers, where I will be going next. And we just want to thank you because, dealing with mental health is real, and especially in our community, it's not talked about. And so this is very important. And we just hope you learned and will spread the knowledge as well. And continuing in praising Turning Point, I got some flowers for Turning Point. So each will get a rose. So we'll do that after, so just people know, because we appreciate each and every one of them, because as we know, this is not a paid position or paid volunteer. This is about servicing for God. And even though we might piss each other off, we know we're doing this for God and each other. Family, gets irritating sometimes, but we love each other. And the other flowers that I have is for Sheila for stepping up. We're not gonna cry.
Don't cry, Sheila.
She deserves it. We've been working together for several years, and of course the loss of Deacon Corbett was very hard on us. And like she said, this year I was like, I'm not doing Turning Point. But she's like, I will step in, because transition is hard, and especially when people are very passionate about it, and just that level of dedication is hard to replicate. But we have faith that Turning Point will continue and be even better than what it is right now. So this is the end of my speech, because we gotta go and I'm tired and hungry.
I just wanted to just finish up to tell you that we do have the resource guide. There is scan. We know that it's asking to give you access. If you scan it, we will give you access. If you're unable to do that, we will email it to you, the guide. And in the guide, it has a lot of the information that we discussed, especially with the therapist. There's one in there from wellness, from Reform Council. And they have a comprehensive guide of therapists and all kinds of services. And then also we have our own resource guide. So in that in the QR code or in the email that we're going to send you, there is a plethora of information that's going to be in it. I just wanted to also say that Turning Point, what we currently have going on is Healing Our Hearts, the bereavement groups, on Tuesday, 7 p.m. It is virtual. Pam and Pat Hunton-Bunyan are the ones who facilitate that, and also Renee Edgehill Smith, who's in Georgia. She also participates in that as well, to stay in touch with Turning Point. We were going to have a chat and chew next month in June. However, because of, our church is real busy. And so, we're progressive. So next June, during Juneteenth week, we're having the cannabis convention. Yeah, oh yeah. We that you. Oh yeah. So we're having the cannabis convention, conference rather, and I think that's June 16th, Juneteenth weekend. We also have the frontliners are having their retreat. If you have men in your family that you think want to be connected to the men's ministry, please look to sign up for the frontliners. The frontliners are a phenomenal group of men who support the church. They especially support the women and the prime timers. The prime timers are our seasoned folks and have chosen, for you if you don't know, or as the women's ministry, but they are of great support. We also have Teams That Mean Business, I think May 31st, and that is the 8 weeks paid internships that teens who are in high school can participate in, and it's paid. It's from July to August. So you have teens, please look on the website for that. And the last thing is that we have services on Sundays from 9 to 11. There is in person, and is also online virtually, and you can find that on the website. So I think I have covered everything. I think we have 9 and 11. I'm so 9. Oh, I'm sorry, 9 and 11. Everybody be here at 9 o'clock, ready to go. But 9 and 11 o'clock service, in person and virtually. And so if you have any other questions, anybody is, interested in anything, please feel free, go to the website, or as they say, go look. If you see somebody look like they know something about something, talk to them too, because we have a bunch of deacons and ministers and pastors and servant leaders in the mix. So with that, I will bid everyone a great farewell. Please make it home safely. We thank you once again for coming, because we could not have the conference without you and your participation. Oh, I almost forgot. We were doing all this exercise and working. The health ministry is going to be doing, we got y'all all warmed up, bones, your joints all loose now. They're going to be starting in June a walking health ministry for the summertime. As you noticed, it was a couple of weeks ago, they did do the exercise portion in the service. So this is kind of linking on to all of this working out that we did and mindfulness and stuff like that. And so we're doing the body, mind, and spirit kind of thing. So please look out for that. That'll probably be the week after Memorial Day that they're going to kick that off. So please, you already walked to Pratt already. So come on, let's keep on walking, okay? And with that, I bid you farewell. God's blessing. We love you, and we're here for you. Bye-bye. Oh, wait, hold on, stop. Mama B.
I started to say.
Before, let's pray. Could you?
Father God, we thank you for this time. We thank you for everyone under the sound of my voice. We thank you for all those who helped to make today what it is. Now, God, we look to you, the author and finisher of our faith. As we leave this place, oh Lord, we thank you for never allowing us to leave your sight. This is our prayer. In your name we pray. Amen.